You of course that you have that great scene with DiCaprio. What was he like to act with?
I was so taken by watching Leo throughout and his I hate the P word, but I'll say it, and his process. It just sounds so pretentious, but watching Leo work was remarkable because he never I don't know, I think maybe I was under the impression that these people who are really, really gifted and are so good at what they do just are naturally that way and don't really necessarily work as hard at it. They're just naturally those movie stars. I was so taken by how he was constantly working. He was constantly talking to himself, working through stuff. He had a coach on set who would work with him during breaks. He's just unbelievably dedicated. But working with him in that scene, we didn't have any rehearsal. The setup, obviously cameras on him, and we started doing it. I'm a theater actor, or that was my original sort of, that's where I grew up. So when you're a theater actor, I didn't learn this till I had enough experience on set to understand the distinction. But I'm always there to react and listen, even if I'm not on camera. Because that's what, in my opinion, actors should do, right? When you get on certain sets, some people don't operate that way. Some people don't even necessarily show up for someone else's coverage. They just let them act into a void or act with a stand-in or act with...
Right.
Well, long story short, I reacted to Leo the way that I had intended to, the way I had thought through the character. And it made him very emotional. So then he had an emotional reaction, and we did like 2 or 3 takes. And I remember Marty came out, and he came up to me and he was like, "Really great work. Just so you're aware, save a little because we're going to turn around and the camera's going to be on you." To which I replied, "Oh, don't worry, Marty. I have deep wells of sadness. It's fine." He thought that was funny too. So, but. Leo found me after we finished up everything, and he personally thanked me and said,
"Oh, wow."
I didn't know what I hadn't really figured out what I was going to do with that speech. And you being there and being present and in it with me helped me figure it out. And he was very generous about that. And I hold that near and dear to my heart.
Oh, wow. What a great story. Wow.
Yeah, it was...
To me, that's the, and I'm not just saying this because you're here. I mean, it honestly is to me the best scene of the movie, because at least from my point of view, Belfour is a guy who I hated him so much. Like, I just nothing likable about him, nothing redeemable at all. I mean, he's worse than any of it, in my opinion, Scorsese's movies, but because he puts you in the point of view of Belfour, you can't help but laugh sometimes. And then I find it the hardest movie to watch of his, because I'm laughing when I'm like, oh my God, why am I laughing at him? I remember seeing it when it came out and feeling like I had just done some lines of coke after leaving, as he puts
like you needed a shower, right?
Yeah, he puts you right in that headspace that I don't necessarily want to be in, and I'm sometimes liking it, sometimes not, and it's such a roller coaster. But that scene is the only time I saw him not so concerned with himself in his narcissism, because he points out that what he did for you, and he was compassionate towards you, and it's the only time. I've only seen it twice. Again, I find it really hard to watch. I mean, I not that I don't like it.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it was a lot to take. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was at least one side of him that you don't see in the rest of the film, from my experience of it. Well, I don't know if others have told you that, but it's just...
I actually know I have heard that from other people, and I'm always really not only appreciative of that observation and the compliment, but also it's funny because I had seen it the same way. Even when we were filming it, I remember thinking, oh God, I hope I don't hope I don't get cut out, because that's always a possibility in any
of
film.
Course.
You never know. Like, okay, I hope my part is still there when I show up to watch the premiere or whatever.
Right.
And I remember thinking to myself, I think I have a good shot of that scene really making it, because I remember thinking to myself, this is kind of the only scene where like he's not a total
It is. It is the only one.
I mean, not Leo, but the character.
The character.
So it levels, some humanity. It levels him up to having some humanity. That is, which we don't see from that character. And like, as likable as Leonardo DiCaprio is, that's the reason that the movie is even watchable in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And Scorsese caught a lot of flack. I remember when the reviews came out, he caught a lot of flack for being like, oh, this is too much, it's gratuitous. And I was like, you don't understand. Like,
that's
nothing that Martin Scorsese does is by happenstance or for shock value. That man sees the entire movie in his head before you set a foot on any location, any set. That I'm telling you, having worked with him twice now, I'm convinced of it. Of course, watch him say it like that's not true. Watch him be like, I figured that later. But in my opinion, all of that was he knew precisely what he was doing, and he was taking you on a ride.
He was hesitant to do it because it was territory that he had been to before, and I imagine he did it because this was to go even further with this type of guy who is sort of has those qualities of Jake LaMotta and Henry Hill, but is much worse. And I think it speaks to where we are in the world today. I mean, do you see it as a cautionary tale about the excess of greed? That's how I saw it. I don't know about you.
I can't speak, to the filmmaker's intent. I saw it almost more as maybe less of a cautionary tale and more of a sort of expose. To me, it felt very much like, I'm going to put you in this world and let you see the absolute disgusting excesses of the masters of the universe. What you choose to do with that information is on you, but I'm not going to spare you any of the gory details.
Right.
And I'm not going to spare you any of the glorious details, because there is some, with wealth like that, there is a lot of things that we all covet, right? So there's some great stuff that comes with it. But I would say, in terms of a cautionary tale, I think that speaks almost more to The Irishman.
Well, yes, very, very much so. Particularly the third act is, and that was something else that, particularly in the gangster genre, you had never seen the points of views of the kids, the wives, the judgments, the look what you did to us. You never saw that. I remember in Goodfellas, there's one, just a snippet of a daughter reacting to Henry Hill and Karen, played by Lorraine Bracco, fighting. But other than that, you really didn't see the children in any of his films, to that extent, anyways.
You don't see the toll.
The toll. Yeah.
The toll that it takes on everyone around that world. You only see that world. You maybe see prison, or a courtroom scene in prison, and you see the sort of consequences of the legal system, but rarely do you see the consequence of the humanity of the people that surround those humans. Yeah.
And I think that also, some people had felt that they should have done that in Wolf of Wall Street, but I'm not sure if that would have, I don't know if that would have been as effective for that story. I think that was like a very much of a, let's just put them right through this, and if they're feeling the guilt of enjoying it and laughing when they shouldn't and stuff, it's much more of a trip, as opposed to, oh well, these people are bad, let me tell you, by cutting to the families of the people he ruined and stuff like that. I just, I'm probably not articulating this the best way, but it just feels like it needed to be purely from Jordan's point of view,
Yeah. I think you're probably right, and I think there's also probably some truth to, when each of these films were made by this filmmaker too. What was on his mind, and what did Marty think was important to say in those moments with each of those films. I don't think it's any mistake that Bob and Al and Marty, Harvey, Joe, all working together in The Irishman, sort of in this, all of them having achieved huge fame in this genre, and all of them being of a certain age, and all of them sort of having the swan song together, and having the denouement of the whole project be, and at the end of the day, you die alone. I mean, I just thought there was some I find it very moving. I'm sure I'm projecting all kinds of shit, but I just found it so poetic and so moving. And I remember going in with Catherine Narducci and Welker White and Ray Romano, and a few of us were invited to Marty's private screening room to see before they had sort of done picture lock and finished all of the effects. And I remember, it's so surreal when you've been in a film and you're so excited to see it, and you can't really see the film yet because you're only seeing, I remember that day, and that was the day when. So I was trying to stay focused, and then we got to that third act, and I remember the lights came up and Marty walked back and he's like, "So, what do you think?" And I was like, "How did you do that? How did you make me cry for that piece of shit?" And it was act 3. That's how he did it. He turned him into a human being in that last, because he's not a good guy. No,
not at all. But that's classic Scorsese, always interested in one's morals, and where their morals come into question. I mean, that goes back to Mean Streets. It goes back to Raging Bull and many films. He's always interested in that moment when they have to stop and say, "Oh shit, I need to change," or "I need to." What's interesting about Frank Sheeran is that he's trying. He goes to the priest and he trying to feel bad, but he just can't. Like I thought I had never seen a scene like that. I thought, wow, it's so unusual that this character would say, "I know I should feel sorry, but I just don't." He was just so cut off from his feelings from killing people, being a soldier, and a hired assassin since he was in his 20s. Of course he's going to be totally desensitized to it. But it's a remarkable film. Because you were. A lot of the actors on Wolf of Wall Street, I know people were there for a number of days. Was that because he was doing a lot of improv and just, how did they even have the budget to have actors there? So many, it must have been a big budget, I imagine, How long were you there?
Well, for Wolf, I remember the first time I joined them was in mid-September, and then I was kind of, and then I would disappear for a few weeks and then come back for a couple of weeks straight at a time, and it would be just those huge scenes with all of those brokers and on the not the trading floor, but on the Stratton Oakmont floor, and upwards of 10 weeks, I want to say I did, off and on. They weren't necessarily full weeks, right? I maybe would work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and have Thursday, Friday.
But that's a lot. Wow. 9,
maybe 9, 10 weeks. It was a lot. And that was nothing compared to what we ended up doing in Irishman. Irishman was, I don't know if it's true, but I heard someone say that it had the most locations of any
Probably,
film.
Yeah. And Wolf had the most F-bombs.
Yeah. I'm always feeling.
Well, I love that your first line was. Your first line was "fuck you."
I know.
Which is great. That's classic Scorsese, right?
I still haven't shared that film with my children. I'm not sure. I told them when they're 18. Maybe when they're 18 they can watch it.
Yeah.